Whenever a big game has a sequel, our expectation is that the game takes everything that was good about the original and improves upon it, while removing or fixing the negative aspects from the first game. That pretty much sums up our expectations for Ghost of Yotei. Still, does it deliver on such a promise, or does it fall behind the original Ghost of Tsushima? We won't beat around the bush here. Yotei is a significant improvement over Tsushima, which is saying a lot considering how great the original game already was. So, let's dive into the sequel, its key aspects, which of them were better, and why.
Yotei doesn't reinvent the wheel here. It simply polishes and refines it. That means if you haven't played either yet, both are still great options because Tsushima has solid combat and it doesn't feel outdated by its sequel. That said, Yotei still improves upon it, from a wolf companion to help you out, to grabbing people's weapons and throwing them at other people. But the greatest addition is the swap from stances to different weapons, which significantly changes the flow of things. The Kasarigama, in particular, is one of our favorites due to its absurd range. Speaking of range, the combat improvements continue in the ranged weapons department as the longbow is introduced a lot earlier, and you also have access to guns, making you a far deadlier person.
Admittedly, this will depend somewhat on your personal preference. If you prefer a map that is more straightforward and points out places that are worth checking out, then Tsushima is actually the better one for your playstyle. However, it's safe to say that most people enjoy exploration where the map doesn't immediately point out things, and you actually have to discover them by traveling or talking to people and gathering information about points of interest. Because of that, Yotei stands out again, offering you a map where information is not handed out for free, and you actually need to visit places and find out what they have.
The third pillar of gameplay here was also improved, though stealth takes a while to build up on Yejo, as some abilities, like the special hearing, take a while to be unlocked compared to Tsushima. Still, with improvements to multiple assassinations, easier ways to kill from afar, and a bigger challenge to kill certain enemies, which requires you to get some skills to kill them, you will find more refined and challenging stealth segments around Edzo. When it comes to graphics, both Ghost of Yotei and Ghost of Tsushima are visually stunning, but in very different ways. Ghost of Tsushima set the bar high back in 2020 with its breathtaking landscapes inspired by feudal Japan. The game's lighting, weather system, and incredible attention to detail in foliage, armored textures, and particle effects still holds up even today. The art direction focused on cinematic beauty. Think sunsets over golden fields, storms rolling across the ocean, and fog drifting through bamboo forest. It's a game that looks like a moving painting, emphasizing atmosphere over realism. Ghost of Yotei, on the other hand, pushes the next-gen hardware to its limits. Built for modern PCs and consoles, it delivers a far more realistic visual style. Character models are richer, with lifelike facial animations and detailed fabric physics. The lighting is fully dynamic. Reflections on wet surfaces, volumetric fog, and ray tracing effects make every scene look photorealistic. You can even see snow deform under your footsteps, and the particle effects during combat look far more advanced. While Tsushima excels in artistic presentation, Yotei aims for realism and technical precision. In short, Ghost of Tsushima gives you beauty, Ghost of Yotei gives you realism. So it really depends on what you prefer. Cinematic visuals that feel like an ancient legend, or ultra-detailed graphics that pull you into a living, breathing world. Either way, both games prove how far visual storytelling and open-world samurai games has come.
Okay, this one's is like asking which child is our favorite, even though we're not their parents. Ansu's story doesn't have the same impactful prologue, but the more you see from her backstory and her interactions with the world, the more you grow attached to her and understand how compelling a character she is. But Jin Sakai still is Jin Sakai, the great ghost who saved Tsushima from the Mongols. His character is still amazing, and the journey he has gone through makes him compelling on his own too. The torture protagonism was successfully passed from one amazing person to another.
Now, both stories are great, so if you think we're picking Tsushima more as our personal preference and that you like Yotei's story better, we'd understand. Both games deliver a solid experience in their writing, doing a great job in this department. That said, Yotei is one of those cases where the gameplay wants to give you more freedom and inspiration, to the point of letting you choose the order of certain main missions, such as which member of the Yotei sects you want to attack first, within reason, as some are allowed into you further events in the story. Because of this less linear structure, the writing takes a small hit, as it is common with this type of non-linear storytelling, where each member feels like a somewhat separate storyline. Meanwhile, Tsushima offers a more streamlined experience, with the whole story feeling more cohesive from beginning to end. The whole game hits you hard with the confrontation between the people of Tsushima and the Mongols, and the personal story between Jin, who he needs to become the same as people, and his personal confrontation with Shimura is still a highlight for the game and the series.
Speaking of the writing, the villain department might be the hardest aspect to rank these two games, because they're both great here, but for different reasons. Tsushima still has the best antagonist of the series, in Lord Shimura. The narrative between him and Jin elevates the writing of the game completely, as mentioned above. Plus, the Mongol threat is highly compelling, even if Khotun Khan is tactically just a generic bad guy. He's a charismatic one. Still, Shimura might be an antagonist, but he isn't a villain per se. And if we compare Khotun Khan with the Yotei 6, most of them are actually more compelling villains, even at an individual level. The group feels threatening, and its members are well written and amazingly performed, with minor exceptions that aren't worth pointing out due to spoilers. So while Tsushima has the best one, Yosanade has multiple great ones, better scatter out throughout the game.
Lastly, and it might feel like an odd thing to evaluate, but Tsushima still has an overall better atmosphere when exploring the map. It doesn't come from the visuals or even the side content, but the sheer fact that the land is devastated by war. You'll notice this everywhere you go. Yotei, despite all the conflict, has quite a few locations where things are safe and people are okay. While that is a nice change of pace from the war-torn Tsushima, it sometimes feels like the main conflict doesn't affect the land as hard as it should. So fighting in a constant war against the Mongols at every corner makes things feel more connected too.
Despite all the narrative praise we gave to Tsushima, which is well earned, Yotei still has an excellent narrative segment for you to venture through. And that, plus all the mechanical improvements to the gameplay, makes Yotei the better experience on a technical level, as our review explains further. Still, if there's one final note we can leave for you, it is that both games are definitely worth playing in case you haven't already, unless hack and slash really isn't your style. Also, even if you have played Tsushima, just play it again before tackling Yotei, because why not?